This is Bob Ferguson, and this is the next episode of Life with Bob. We've taken a couple, 2 or 3 months off, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you a person who is well known and well beloved to people in Fairfield, Iowa, Freddy Niagara Fonseca. Freddy is from South America, and he is a poet extraordinaire. He's also one of those people in town who, in his quiet way, moves the town, moves the life of the town just by his presence. And he has written poetry for, I guess, pretty much all your life, for a good piece of your life, Freddy. And you have a brand new book called The Bomb That Blew Up God. And you invited a bunch of us to come to a socially distant sidewalk reading. And I went the other day and I was so entranced, bought the book, and I am reading it with absolute pleasure. So Freddy, thank you very much for being my guest tonight.
My pleasure, Bob. I'm so honored to be on your show.
So let's start at the beginning. You were born in Curaçao, grew up in Suriname. Tell us a little bit about your formative years.
So yeah, as you said, I grew up in South America, but that's until my middle teens. And the interesting thing is that I was exposed to many, many languages. Although I didn't know that many languages at the time. My mother tongue is Dutch, and English, French, and German I learned much later in school. But the environment where I lived, like Curaçao and also Suriname, is very multicultural. So there's a lot of people from the African race, the people from India, from China, from Indonesia, from Europe, and they all speak different languages to a certain extent, although there is a common language. And I'm realizing that in my early formative years, so to speak, when I was little, I was hearing all those languages, although I didn't all understand all of them, but I think that the rhythms have shaped my poetry to some extent.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So the funny thing is that when I was in school, I didn't like poetry at all. I mean, I didn't care for it. And some people say, oh yeah, you're such a great poet, you're a born poet. Far from that. I really became interested in poetry after high school and well into my 20s, while other poets are already world famous. That's where I started.
Yes, and you had a very formative figure that you mentioned in the foreword of your book.
Oh, yeah. So when I really started writing was probably when I was 29. At that point, I was living in Rome, Italy. And I had went there to Italy because I thought I love the Italian language. I learned it to some extent, and I wanted to spend the rest of my life there. It turned out differently, but anyway, I was there. And at some point, an American friend from New York came to visit Rome. He was an actor, and he was doing some thing in film. And I took him on a stroll through one of the most beautiful parks in Rome, the Borghese Park, Villa Borghese. And we hit on a statue by Lord Byron, whom I knew from school, but didn't mean much to me. And I had maybe read 1 or 2 poems that I didn't remember at that time. So now he was sitting on a pedestal, and there was a plaque with some lines from one of his poems. And I swear to God, the next day I started writing in a language that I, at that time, certainly did not master, but of course I could get along, which was English. And so, although I grew up Dutch, learned English and other languages in school, I never wrote in English until the day after I met Lord Byron.
That is remarkable.
Yeah,
that is remarkable. And so, Freddy, what does poetry mean to you? What place does it have in your life?
It has obviously a very great niche in my life, but I like all the arts actually, and I have all my life, I've tried to become something in any of the, of many of the arts. I will start with telling you, for instance, I learned my craft as a graphic designer, and I've always been very much into pictorial and sculptural art. And I've seen unbelievable much in Europe. I've been to museums galore, also in the United States. And I wanted to become a painter. So, and you know, I was for about, I think 2 or 3 years, I was painting and drawing almost every day. And at some point, I discovered my voice, so to speak, that I had a voice that could be, I could probably become a singer. And that actually was the thing that I wanted most. My life is really, it circles around music, and especially operatic music, vocal music. So I want to become an opera singer. So there was this voice teacher that I came in contact with, and so I started taking lessons, and you know, I was so involved in it, I just stopped painting. I did other things I don't remember. But at that time, I was probably too late to have any significant progress. So, and when I was in Italy, actually, I was also taking lessons, but I also understood that I would never really make it. But then poetry came. So,
your rescue.
to my rescue, yeah. And from that point on, I've certainly not been writing every day, but you know, very regularly. Sometimes with great gaps of not writing at all, and I never minded. And there was always something, yeah, brewing in myself of something substantial to say. So not just write a pretty poem and stream of consciousness or anything like that. No, if I have to say something, then it must be really universal, and that would reach as many people as possible.
And that was what I was going to ask you. What are the great heroic themes of your poetry? What are the themes of life that you most enjoy writing about, or that you feel drawn to writing about?
Well, so in this book, I have divided my poetry in 7 chapters. And the first one is all about light, or the absence of light, and consciousness, and uncertainty, and some revelations. And then at some point in the second chapter, I write mostly about dance and about music, and the 2 things together in, I think, a very lively way. And I've even had a show in 1990, a theatrical show, where I recited 10 of my poems to music, to a keyboardist playing, and with a group of 30 dancers. And we did several dances. And actually, I would like to do that again, and we will at some point. So those are the 2 first streams of in the book, so to speak. And then there were others. And obviously, light and consciousness is important. And dance and music is an incredible expressive way of being alive, which I remember very much from South America in that. So a lot of the poems have a South American or Latin flavor. Some of them have much more of a maybe universal flavor, and some even North American flavor, I would say. And then there are other themes. For instance, I think that death and dying, although everybody is afraid to die, so am I, but it is a major theme in our life. We are going there one way or other.
Right.
And so several poems of mine are about dying and death, but not in a lugubrious way, in a probably more factual way. Yeah, this is how it is, and you know, accept it and go through it. And then There's a few other themes. And the last chapter is everything in that chapter is about nature. So about trees, about waterfalls, about the air we breathe, everything, but all nature and how we respond to it. So I never planned it that way, but you know, the body of my poems kind of asked for it. So then I thought, hey, you know, it seems that these poems would be nice together with those and those and those. And then I thought, well, I'm going to make chapters, and that was it.
That's beautiful. So many of us in Fairfield pay attention to consciousness, you know, to the process of transcending to
Right.
that universal. So what relationship does your poetry have to that, and what place has transcendence held in your life as a formative way of helping create you as a person and you as an artist?
Well, I recognize very much that my spiritual path, whatever it may be, has contributed and influenced my writing to a great degree. And I can safely say that at least half, if not more, of my poetry, maybe 3/4, who knows, has something to do with consciousness, but not in a serious, overtly serious way or academic way, but it is almost like hidden, almost like, yeah, as an afterthought. And after you have read the whole thing or you're halfway, you think, oh, wait a second, is he talking about you know, mundane things, or is he talking about the expansion of the soul? What is it? You know,
Yeah, right. I noticed that, and I noticed that there was this little enigmatic glimmer, and I said, I wonder what Freddy means by that. Oh, he's up to something.
Yeah, I'm thinking of at some point maybe I should create a book club to discuss this book.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I can go and discuss it. And I will sit like in the background. I won't say much. let them figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Don't overfigure. Let people draw the inferences and see what they see.
Right.
Well, Freddy, so let's hear some of your poetry.
Yeah, you know, I'd like to
put a little context, you know, context around it. Whatever you want. I just would love to share this with our broader audience.
Yeah. So I have many favorites. I'm like a father.
Yes.
With a number of kids, and you like them all, you know. And you recognize one of them is big and strong, another one is a little bit different, and so on. But you like them, you love them. But I think there's one poem that I really love the most, and so I'd like to start with that one.
Please.
The Language of Trees. I asked the trees one summer what they had been thinking of all year. They wouldn't say, but then I heard them wave and whisper of the ages, seasons, years and months and days, and countless hours of abundant happiness. I like the tales they tell me. Autumn makes them talk of leaving all, and yet they stay. And as they drop their leaves, they muse for weeks on April, thrushes, stars and lingering Indian summers, rain and latent loneliness. Their voice is low in winter. Snow and icy winds are undermined, and they withdraw. But in their winter dreams, you hear how branches sing and think of dawn. The sun in distant countries, warmth and summer peacefulness. How grand they are each season. Often have I seen them stand like kings. A certain awe surrounds their splendid forms, and so they wait for spring, for flowers, verdant prairies, butterflies in May, and simple loveliness. And then they speak of lovers. Sudden callers spread their message fast. And every year their many stories bloom and brighten noble pages, poems, gorgeous music, heart and mind with endless youthfulness. And so we welcome summer. All day long they stand and think and dream. And all we hear is how they wave again and whisper of the ages, seasons, years and months and days, and countless hours of unending happiness.
Oh, Freddy. Wow. Not only the poetry, but the poet. That was beautiful. I'm so glad I'm recording this and we'll be able to stream it back live on Facebook. But that was extraordinary. So let's do something that contrasts with that. What's a good one that you?
Oh, another poem? Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Let's see. You know, I'll do something that I have probably not read in public yet, but you know, I always like to jump in something new.
Absolutely, yeah, that's what we do here.
Yeah. Okay, so this is in a very conversational tone, and I guess well, anyway. It is an upside down world. There's an upside down world most of you know little about. The upside down cake was invented up here, but someone took the recipe down one day so you could have it. Too bad there isn't more you remember from this place where life is being lived, never feeling blue. Please come on up sometime and see how we turn the ups and downs of life into the ups and ups. Quite often, we wish you would visit, you know. You see, if you were feeling down, you would get upbeat in seconds. We have had people's high blood pressure going down in a whoosh, for sure. Try it. If you visit long enough, you'll have a good chance to become even keeled and start appreciating what what's up really means. But if you think to come here to flaunt your ego, talking down to others, you'll be in for quite a shock. You will be talking up, praising them to high heaven. Once you get over that, you'll start feeling quite at home, I promise. At least we all hope you will. Come, have a look at our upside down ways, our habits, pleasures, why we choose to be here, where we are going, and why we think we have got the real deal without being uppity about it. Oh, but you want to know about our sex life, right? How we do it? Well, angels we ain't, we multiply. But what do you want to hear? You who already know the Kama Sutra backward. Oh, the up and down part. Well, what if the apple Eve dropped, bounced up before Adam got down to business? We flipped over, mankind fell. Once you get used to loafing upside down, you'll figure it out. But let's have some upside down cake now. You'll find it goes up well. Logic never went down well up here. But you'll be fine. You won't throw up. See how healthy we look? The bottom line, we beat gravity and live it up. We've got here all you'll ever need. We love to share and have resolved such opposites like war and peace, good and bad. Impossible, you say? Not so. Long ago, we tossed the im of impossible to make such things possible. Welcome to our upside down world. Here, take my hand and just flip over. You'll see.
Oh, delightful. Absolutely delightful.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
Absolutely beautiful. Wow. So let's hear some more. I'm ready.
So with those poems, you have the first one, obviously, was very lyrical and very, you know, like universal, all about nature. And that was one of the poems from the last chapter. And this one was very conversational. And I have tried to, in most of my poems, some of them are like this, conversational, like almost as if you're talking with, you know, have someone conversation with. And others look or sound more like they have form, and sometimes they have not. You actually don't exactly know what they have. Except there's other ones, for instance, that are very much rhymed, and they sound almost like they're classical, but still they're not. But you have to figure it out. Okay, let's see what else we can find here.
Expanding my boundaries, Freddy.
Okay. Let me read one of my dances. And okay, the first poem in the Dances, Music, and Magic is very wild. It's about the Carnival in Rio. And after that, people would say, oh, you would probably have been to Rio, but I haven't. But I have a rich imagination. Carnival in Rio, row after row of color, costumes, glitter galore, wave after wave of thundering feet and deafening voices, billow on billow of prancing, advancing masses of dancers. We are dancing the samba, the samba, the samba, and Rio, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We shake our shoulders, bottoms, and bellies to the beat of the bongos, the bongos, the bongos. Hours and hours of dancing, singing, laughing, and fun. Day after day of cheer and the fiery heat of roasting Rio. Night after night of feverish lust and great, fantastic vices. We know no worries whenever we dance in the streets of Rio, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We twist and turn and stamp, and thus we succumb to the rhythm, the rhythm, the rhythm. Beat after beat of raging blood and rising desire. Song after song of attraction and lure of the sexes. Dance after dance of reveling, heaving oceans of bodies. We're dancing the samba, the samba, the samba in Rio, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We gasp and groan like all our ancestors did in the Congo, the Congo, the Congo. Stream after stream of dark, irresistible rhythms. Wave after wave of hot, tremendous African forces. Billow on billow of burning, baking, boiling catharsis. We are back in the Congo, the Congo, the Congo, and not in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We join our fathers and mothers to shake and mate to the beat. Deep in the womb of the rhythm, the rhythm, the rhythm.
Wow. That is truly extraordinary. Truly.
That's one of my wildest. There's only
that's wild and beautiful and evocative. You could just, wow. Well, Freddie, I think we have time for one more poem. So let's choose the one that we want to take our audience out on, and we'll just have to have you come back. This is not enough poetry, but we'll do chapter 2 soon.
Huh?
We'll do second session soon, second episode soon. But
let's
finish with one beautiful poem.
I have an ode to music. And actually, I recited that in the Dome in Fairfield many, many years ago. In 1990, maybe 1988 or something, for an audience of probably 1,000 people. And it's all about music and nature. Ode to music. Come now with harps to join the tenors here and touch the strings. The flute will sing to all the instruments we love. Listen, violins and violas mingle with the choir. Clang all the gongs and sound the organ now and beat the drums. We all intone to music of the centuries. Hear the bells and cymbals coming to the fore. Play now those runs to bring that winning tune and spread the light. Nature sings in all of us, and there's a thrilling song. Give in to sweet melodiousness within your soul. Hear now how those birds combine their warbling notes with vivid rhythms. Truly, they are singing from a harmony we have lost. Silver carols ring, and spring awakens in a thrill. Oh, let's have flowers, rustling leaves, and always, always happiness. The woodwinds speak of summer gardens, or are we hearing songs of distant nightingales evoked by soft bassoons? A warm andante is unfolding from a tranquil pond one early morning. The swans are mute. Mysteriously, they drift along on streams of perfect, timeless, and eternal beauty. The pearly triplets of the grand piano join the waterfall. Murmuring sources bring reflections back of old. Do you remember how lotuses would float on the rivulets? Lakes would form them while an ocean lingered in a single note. A mountain song would soar within a symphony, and hidden valleys struck a grander chord. Towering heavens opened up to us in days gone by. The world was quiet, like a pause between two songs. And we were far from here in love upon a sunny hill. A burning sun resounds in baritones. It is midday. A simple ditty sounds with children on a stroll. A silence falls, and now a woman hums behind the house. The clarinet resumes a previous theme, and evening comes. Guitars are heard. They bring the gentle heartbeat to the music we adored. The sun has set, the moon is out. Come now with brass, a trumpet and a voice will lead the dance. Hear the saxophones with sharps and flats and quivering lilts. The clock strikes 12, but they won't stop until the stars wane. Contraltos rise, announcing dawn. The boy sopranos join with ever-rising scales and strike such crystal tones that move even the angels. Hear their voices climb into the skies. We hear a prelude to a realm of music all but endless. God himself descends. Let's sing and love and dance. Age is bent above you. Sing that song. Toll the bell. A solo for the bass transforms into a hymn. The lead soprano sings a haunting final melody, transcending understanding here on earth. O Heavenly Father, now forevermore, welcome me, thy newborn child. Music, you're truly ringing from the harmonies of love, sublime and pure. O Song of Songs. no one can withstand such love. The chorus sets with liquid gold. It's time. Come, we must go home.
Oh, Freddie. Well, as a musician myself, I can deeply, deeply feel that. Just, wow, beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful. Well, what can I say? Thank you very much for
My pleasure.
gracing this episode. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about this little town we live in, that the bench depth of talent is just simply everywhere. Somehow, so many of us have collected with our life experiences and building this community. So I really honor you, Freddie, for what you've done, for the beautiful anthology of poetry you put together, I think from local poets to this beautiful volume of your own verse. And I could sit here for another hour, but we'll leave a little bit for the next time. So
yeah, may I announce that I'm planning to have a grand opening at some point when all this COVID is, not so important anymore.
Yep.
And Cafe Paradiso, where I will be reciting my poems and accompanied by several musicians. And I'm probably thinking of 7 different instruments.
Wonderful.
And I will have also 1 or 2 dancers dancing to my poetry. So I want to stretch the possibilities that you can create with poetry other than just reciting something.
Yes.
So some of them will be with music, and some of them will be just like I did now, without music. So the more dramatic ones, the ones that are more lend themselves to be accompanied by music, I will choose to make music and poetry. And that forms, as I have seen in the past, like a hybrid where you think, what, is this not poetry? Is this music? What is, it's a combination of the two. And I have the good fortune that I have a very good pianist, Nathan Zumstein, here in town.
Oh, yes.
He is a composer, and he is extremely good at improvisation. And so although we do rehearse what I recite, it is, we just don't leave it like, oh, we're going to do some poetry with some background music. No, not at all. It is well rehearsed and well thought out. But there is some liberty in how things develop each time, although there might be a central theme. And the amazing thing is that sometimes he inspires me with maybe a fusion of music coming from him, and that inspires me to recite differently than I would have done the previous time, and that inspires him to do more daring things again. So every performance is therefore always a total surprise to both of us. That's the way I like it.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I had the pleasure of, I didn't know Nathan before, and the pleasure of meeting him actually out canvassing, and what an extraordinary character.
Oh yeah,
it's just extraordinary. I was enthralled, absolutely enthralled. So we look forward to that, and I'll have my little platform be part of what helps people know that that's available. So Freddie, again, thank you so much. It's been a very inspiring time, and we will do this again.
Okay, thank you, Bob.